Hello everybody! I hope you enjoyed that quick and short interval. We are back with what should be, on paper, the most exciting match, or one of the closest matches of the round of 32. It is Japan versus Singapore. Should be an excellent contest. Seed number 16 versus seed number 17. It's the sort of matchup you dream of. Of course, joining me on for this epic matchup is the ever so lovely, ever so wonderful, it's Kano. Hi, Kano.
Hey there, Dimash. It's great to be back. And on top of that, we've got such a great match ahead of us. We've got the two middle seeds, like smack bang right down the middle. So we're going to have probably one of the closest matches of this round, which, that's going to be exciting. And these two teams, they are very, very strong. I mean, we've seen some pretty impressive performances from them in the qualifier stages, and I'm really, really looking forward to this overall.
Yeah, I think we've got some great potential on this one, and some interesting sort of statistics from the qualifiers. It really is a bit back and forth with these teams, with some close matchups and some not so close matchups. But just to sort of give you an idea on some of these teams, we've got the 17th seed Singapore, with just a fantastic performance and a fantastic team as well. Coming into this, you've got Megumik, the captain, who has performed amazingly in qualifiers, playing everything that they could, as well as some good supporting members. The Monocle as well is someone to watch, a really, really strong player as well. Can't forget GS Blank, who again is always on top form, as well as some other players that you might not have seen yet. Tebi in particular is someone that I think who didn't actually play qualifiers for Singapore, so you've got a bit of an interesting potential to shake things up a little bit.
And on the other side as well, you've got Japan with Invoker being the captain this time around, and we haven't really seen too much from them in the qualifier stages, but overall they performed really well on what they did play in these matches. You've got Tichi as well coming in, which is one of the new additions, and pretty much playing everything, just like the underdog, but coming in just absolutely dominating on pretty much every map that they played. You've got some of the old returning players such as L4+1, pretty much playing a lot of the stuff in qualifiers. You're bound to see some of these players coming in for special things, and then you're going to see a few people playing like a vast majority of maps. You've got Aotaline as well coming in for some of the specific picks, especially Nomad 4s and things like that. Vento as well is another one that you'll see on quite a lot of maps. Dectopia stepping in as well for a lot of the hidden picks. Kinikon's another one that you're also going to see on a vast majority of things. And you've also got Yama Darkness as well, stepping in for a strong DT roster.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I think this Japanese DT roster, I mean, they're up against a ridiculous roster from Singapore. But again, they do. Both of these teams have got some very good scores, especially across things like DT1 and different things. I want to quickly go into the bans real quick because they are a bit interesting. So we had Nomad 2 banned out by Singapore, and DT3 banned out by Japan. Bit of an interesting ban there. I can understand the ban from Japan on the DT, but I'm a bit surprised with the Nomad 2 ban, because it looks like both teams kind of struggle with that. So I would have looked at that as a potential map to leave open, especially with how much different it is from the qualifiers.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to maps like that, you definitely can see those ones being left open sometimes, especially if you have very close results from qualifiers and such. But sometimes, if you're just not feeling confident on it, you never know. Like, you might just want to go for the ban just to be on the absolute safe side. And not only that, but there's a lot of things that these two teams can pick from. So I think a lot of the time you kind of just want to go for your comfort picks as well. And maybe in this case, Nomad 2 might not be a comfort pick for them, as well as the DT3.
Yeah, and I think looking at this first map, We've got the No Mod 3. Probably not been... I don't think it's actually been picked thus far. So we've got a little bit to talk about. It's actually a very sort of comfortable No Mod 3. The changing in spacing, as well as the directional changes that you see with the circles here. They're just very comfortable. There aren't really any sort of sharp jumps or angles to really throw players off. It's more about consistency on ult, patterning and tapping than anything else. That players they've just got to be on point with, really. Bit of high accuracy wouldn't go amiss either, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I was reviewing this map earlier, and it definitely seems that consistency is going to be the huge factor in this one. I mean, it's quite a long map. You've got a 4-minute map coming in, and as you mentioned, it's pretty consistent throughout the entire thing. A lot of it obviously just involves having some, relatively top-notch cursor control, and there's like a few little like flow patterns, some snap patterns, and things like that. There might be a few things here and there that might trip up a couple of players. Like I've seen a couple of like sort of kick slider sections in amongst these like snap patterns as well, but outside of that, that's pretty much just going to come down to whether or not you can hold your combo throughout the majority of this. But, since it's such a long map, like a couple of early misses here and there aren't going to be too detrimental, but the longer that you hold your combo for is going to be the more important factor here. And we have actually seen an early miss coming out from Demonico and Aotaline as well. So it misses on both sides. Pretty even across the board.
Yeah, it does keep things relatively close, but I think Atheline had a bit of a later break, so it's going to kind of affect things, but they do have good accuracy. Oh dear, Dectopia and Atheline both finding breaks early on. This is not something I expected to see from Japan to start this out. Also, it is interesting to note that I think Dectopia is using Tabex playstyle.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, like, the Tapex playstyle coming in here, you're seeing the mouse clicks on the purple there. That is quite impressive for a map like this. Same for Aotaline as well.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice Aotaline as well, yeah.
That's a very, very interesting playstyle for a map like this. I mean, this map is very tricky, like, to alternate with 2 fingers, let alone, going down the Tapex route.
Yeah, 2 different hands.
Exactly.
We did see a break from Megamic there, which looked like it was going to open things up, but unfortunately the recovery from Demonical is still holding the lead for Singapore here. But it is a lot closer now, especially with Dectopia and Atheline sort of building those combos back up. Starting to look still dangerous for both sides here as we get into the halfway point of the map. The real crunch time here. Don't want to see any breaks from either side if it can be helped at all.
Yeah, and the thing about this map as well is that with Demonico and Megamic actually finding breaks there, that's going to be really bad for Singapore. Probably taking this one back in Japan's favor, but L4+1 does find a break as well. They're just trading misses at this point.
They really are, but that's still going to favor Japan slightly, though, with the recovery from Dectopia and Atheline. They will have the combo advantage against those two FCs. So they're probably going to be able to flip this, I reckon. As long as they keep it. And the Dawnwing break, that's going to seal it and flip it over straight away.
Yeah, you're going to see that lead go back into Japan's favor very, very quickly with that break from Dawnwing. Eagle is holding on for dear life, but Tichi is just going on strong with Atheline and Dectopia holding up with those supporting combos. This is a lot for Japan right now. We're going to have to see quite a few breaks coming in from them, especially from those higher combos, in order for any form of comeback. But by the looks of things, with how long this map is, it is looking pretty grim right now. Dectopia does find a miss. Is it going to be enough though? They need to see Atheline and Tichi break, and Eagle needs to hold on through all of this. L4+1 finds another break.
So we're looking at about 90,000 points that they've got to make up the difference of. I'm trying to look for the bigger combos. Yeah, it's going to need to be a break probably from Atheline, I think, to give them the room they need, but I don't know if I see it happening. Teachy and Eagle basically just cancelling each other out, but Ataline's 1200 combo pretty much cancels out Demonical and Megamic simultaneously. But there goes Ataline. Is there enough time?
I think that combo was definitely enough. That supporting combo.
Teachy
There was
breaks.
Teachy with the break, though. This could actually swing back in their favor right at the very end. It's getting so close. That lead is closing in fast.
Oh, is it going to go? It does.
It is going
It
back
flips.
to Singapore. Oh my goodness. Those breaks right at the end. That was unbelievable. That timing from Japan. They needed to hold on just that little bit longer. But they had Eagle just going so strong, getting that full combo with 99.41%. Demonical and a few others managing to get those supporting combos just enough to bring them back. A few chain misses from Japan right at the end there as well. Also just sending it right back at the very end. That was unbelievably close.
It was such a pull. It was almost like a fairy tale. Japan, they'd had those early breaks to start things off and put them behind, but they made up the difference and they were looking to take the point, and it was the last few seconds. It literally had to be then. You know, you're talking 23,000 points if Teachy had held on, 10 more combo. And it might have been enough, but that is insanely close for a first map.
Yeah, what a ridiculous map. I mean, that is what we're expecting from these two teams. We are expecting some pretty close results. And, you know, we've already seen that on the first map coming in. But jumping into this next one, Hidden One, this is going to be an interesting one. We're going to see potentially a bit of a roster switch up. Some of the players coming in, dropping out.
Yeah, again, it's more of a it's a more aim-focused pick, I think, than Nomod 3. Whereas Nomod 3 was the aim was a lot more snappy, but fairly comfortable. This is going to be very much definitive jumps, big angles. The players have got to jump to, as well as that middle section that's been brought up a couple of times. That is a very big potential choke point for a lot of players, and we've seen it really make an impact on team scores. So it's something to watch out for. It comes up about just over halfway through the map. With some big sliders and interesting first break from Megamic to start this out.
And it seems like we actually have quite a big roster switch up for Japan here. We've got Invoker, Konkon, Kinikon, and Vento coming in, where the roster switch for Singapore is they're just bringing in Tebi. All three other players still sticking in for this one. Seeing quite a few early misses coming in from players. We've seen Vento, Invoker, Tebi all drop. Megamic has also broken combo very, very early on with this map, but I mean, it's still early days, you know.
Yeah, it's adjustment. Which is it's a bit more surprising seeing the breaks from Japan, considering they had a big roster switch up there, especially with Konkon Kinikon finding a break there. But yeah, Singapore starting off well. Having the break from Tebi does put them back a little bit, but the break from Megamic has almost been completely nullified now. So Singapore, they are in the stronger position. But again, there is still quite a bit of this map to go, so plenty of time, but Evoker finding another break. Really not putting them in the best spot now.
Yeah, there's quite a few awkward snaps in this map. I mean, you've got like the little like small distance between the sliders. There's like a note in between a lot of the time. That kind of stuff on Hidden can be pretty tricky, especially when the sliders are so fast as well. But you know, you've seen quite a few more breaks coming in from Japan as well. Tokyo and Invoker dropping once again. Konkon Kinikon finding a break. And things are not looking good for Japan right now. They've only got Vento holding on. But Eagle is once again just accelerating with the Monocle. Megamic as well. Tebi finding a couple breaks here and there, but I don't think it's going to be enough at this point. We are past the halfway point and there's still three really strong combos from the side of Singapore.
Yeah, and again, we're through the really tricky section, that middle section with all those fast sliders. It's caught out. Who's going to caught out? Megamic with a surprising drop, though. But it's still two big combos with Eagle and Demonical, as a double break from Japan really sets them even further behind. But again, Eagle does find a drop, though, so no FC for him, but Demonical's still holding on. There is just no way for Japan, I don't think, to make up this massive score gap in the last quarter of this map.
Yeah, Demonical putting in the work that is needed to be done right now. As much as Vento and Invoker have two really high combos going for them, I don't think it's going to be enough as we are past the 3/4 point.
Played from Tebby there at the end, but it will not matter. As, again, so many people hitting this accelerating stream at the end. It's a really tricky pattern to hit consistently. But it only seems to be tipping at one player, and Demonical will not bring home the FC. Gets tripped up right at the end. How unfortunate.
Yeah, unfortunately no FC for Demonical there, but still a very, very solid performance nonetheless. Bringing in enough score in to help pull Singapore over the line. You know, Eagle also there with that high 959 combo. Vento at the end was just going wild though. Getting 11-8-4. Pretty impressive stuff from both sides. I mean, once again, we saw this was quite close, considering, you know, how things started out. Things were not looking too good for Japan as they had quite a few breaks early on, but they managed to pull it back a little bit with those combos that they had going and a few chain misses from Singapore.
Yeah, they definitely had the potential on that one, but again, it slipped away from them. But no matter, they've got plenty of time to flip this with their next pick. Hopefully something a bit stronger for them than that Nomad. I'm trying to think of how they maybe want to approach this. I definitely think that, yeah, I expected them to go the Hard Rock route. The Hard Rock was probably their strongest area, consistency-wise, in the qualifiers. They are overall, over the two runs, more consistent than Singapore on this. But again, it's a bit of a different map than what you'd expect normally from a Hard Rock one. It's, as you can probably hear, it's definitely not the sort of aim traditional consistency map that you've come to expect from Hard Rock 1. It's a lot more streamy with a bit of tech mixed in. It's definitely going to be testing more skill sets than what you'd expect from the qualifiers pool. So definitely expect to see some different rosters than what we saw in the qualifiers, but also you're looking at those sort of consistent players who are good at multiple skill sets to come in and really try and carry this map.
Absolutely. Yeah, when it comes to this map, it's a streamy tech, like very, very light tech, but there is some of it there, and especially on a Hard Rock map, this is gonna be a tough one to act. Especially, I think there's a middle section that has 1/3 in it as well. So, you know, accuracy could be a pretty big factor in this one. You might see that actually be a big difference maker. Maybe there might be a player or two who's not too confident on a map like that. Because when it comes to Hard Rock, like, you can still be really, really solid when it comes to Hard Rock as a whole, but when it comes to certain aspects of Hard Rock, when you introduce things like, you know, tech and sliders and, you know, 1/3 and rhythms and whatnot, that kind of stuff can be a little bit more tricky. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one does play out, as you mentioned, with it being a little bit of a different map from what we usually see. But finding an early break from Vento and GS Blank, Invoker as well. This one is looking pretty tough at the beginning, as you can see. It just gets right into it.
There's no build-up or adjustment to the approach rate. You've just got to hit it and hit it fast. That's why a roster change can actually prove beneficial, because you can drop out and just test the approach rate and get comfortable with it. But a lot of breaks coming in from both sides, but it does appear that Singapore do hold a slight advantage with combo. A break there from Teachy. They're really going to set back Japan, as that was their big combo that they had, their FC. And now Megamic and Demonical hold the stage really with their big combos right now.
Yeah, and as mentioned, accuracy is definitely going to be a huge determining factor here. We do see the 1/3 section coming in, bringing a few 100s from some players, and accuracy is just all across the board. Like, we're seeing all sorts of different accuracy drops and things like that, you know, chain misses going on. This is quite a tough map overall, and I mean, overall, like, the players are doing their best to hold on, but we're seeing chain misses everywhere. We're seeing high combos drop. Megamick drops a combo. Invoker is pretty much the only high combo for Japan at this point, but it is actually swinging back in their favor as you've got Tichi and Hong Kong Kinokon also bringing in some supporting combos. Demonical is still holding on, needs to hold on as long as possible. It's pretty much Demonical versus Invoker at this point. Who is going to hold on longer? The lead is going back to Japan. They're just holding on through this. We're seeing chain misses everywhere from Singapore.
Yeah, they just can't hold on to what they need to, despite the epic run from Demonical. Vento will find a break, but it's just too little too late, I think, for Singapore to really do anything about it. They needed Invoker to break to hold on to this lead, and it didn't come for them when they needed it. So Japan picking solid here. Great recovery from players like Tichi, and I think Invoker as well. I'm fairly sure Invoker was an early break in that match, but had a fantastic recovery. There it is, the one miss. Fantastic recovery. Beautiful FC though from Demonical. Can't understate that. On that map, that is very tricky to pull off consistently.
Yeah, that map was pretty brutal. As mentioned, you know, the accuracy definitely a lot harder than your regular hard rock. You know, some of these with like hard rock ones, they would usually be aim typically. Would often see, you know, 98, 99 kind of thing. This one is like throwing accuracy all over the place. And in a match like this, like when things are pretty close in terms of combos and who holds on and whatnot, accuracy can be a pretty big determining factor here.
Yeah, you could definitely see that 200k. A majority of it coming from the accuracy of the players, and again, you had players like Dawnwing who just struggled a little bit too much. Had good combo, but again, the accuracy was actually put them behind GS Blank, who had about 100 combo less throughout that map. So you can, by looking at that comparison, you can definitely see how big of a factor it can potentially play. This is interesting from Singapore, though, with the free mod one.
Yeah, this is an interesting choice. I mean, obviously, this map is pretty tough in terms of like some of the perfect stacking I think I've seen in Hidden specifically, but when it comes to this map, you just have all sorts of like square patterns and whatnot going on. There's like a little bit of slider aim and just things like that, but it might not be a bad choice because obviously Singapore performed really well in Hidden just before, but then Japan obviously, you know, just took that hard rock away. So this one, I think when it comes to this, it is very hard to pick for these two teams because at the end of the day, it's like a lot of it is kind of just a coin flip in some situations. You know, they've got very solid lineups for both types of things. You know, their no mod is fairly evenly matched. Obviously, we just saw Japan take the hard rock and Singapore take the hidden, so it's, you know, it's very back and forth in this one, and that's to be expected when you've got two middle seed teams coming up against each other.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's very sort of, you know, it literally will come down to who has the better play. Is it the hidden players or is it the hard rock players? You know, both of them they've got that sort of one standout hidden and hard rock player specifically. You know, I'm looking at like Eagle, for example, on hidden, or you know, for Singapore, or of course, you know, someone like Vento to really stand out for Japan on this one. Those are the sorts of players I'd look to for their strong performances. But looking at these free mods, both teams opting for 3 players to take mods and have 1 no mod player.
Yeah, that was actually something I was quite curious about as to whether or not we'd see some sort of over-modding coming in, because usually on some of the early free mod picks you actually do see that kind of thing. It's very common to see people going for more mods on more players where possible, and obviously Japan here has opted for 2 hidden hard rock, and we're seeing 2 hard rock coming in from Singapore as well, with the 1 hidden from both sides. So things are pretty evenly balanced. You know, the difference is that Japan does have the mod advantage when it comes to having 2 hiddens added onto their hard rocks. But we are seeing that actually backfire a little bit as Tichi and Bento have both been the 2 to break here. Could it be that the hidden hard rock might be a little bit too much? Or is it just an unfortunate coincidence?
Yeah, it's hard to narrow it down to a single factor on this one. GS Blank will get caught though. So it's not just Japan who's struggling with this one, but Tichy will pretty much trade it up, if not a worse trade for Japan. From the break from GS Blank, but Vento starting to get back up there, but Dectopia again is going to set them back. In a pretty brutal place to drop.
Yeah, having all of your modded players drop is not the best thing to have happen right now, especially since they're the ones that have the score multipliers as well. Invoker is holding on, but the Monaco and Eagle, as well as Megimic, are all matching that. So you're going to need to see some breaks from Singapore in order for any comeback from Japan at this point. Vento has made quite a recovery from the beginning. GS Blank does actually find yet another break. Tichy as well, though, matching that. Singapore still holding on to their full combos, but Megimic does actually find a break on that flow section there.
So if you look at the combos, you look at Dectopia and Vento, they kind of build up a 900, sort of 1,000 combo between them. So that is going to sort of level things out mostly. But again, it's not an advantage. They need an advantage to pull this score back. They're about 400k down, and Megamic will find a break though, so it gives them a little bit of breathing room, but not a lot. They need to see one of these big combos go to start pulling back score. But again, it's Demonical and Eagle. These two players have been playing really well today, but there goes Eagle though. But it can't be enough time, surely.
That is a very big combo drop at the end, but Vento also finding a break as well. I mean, the one thing that is also really impressive from the Singapore side is that they do have almost all players on 99%. If the Monaco pulls it back up just over at the end here, yeah. Oh my goodness, that stream though did claim a little bit of accuracy there. Invoker does find a break at the end, but yeah. Singapore was holding on to 99% for quite some time, whereas we did see Japan have a little bit of an accuracy difference there. So, but I mean, despite having those extra combos, you know, they were pulling it back a little bit right when they needed it, but Eagle was able to hold on just as long as Singapore needed, and they were able to take away their pick. Once again, what do we go for here, though, is the next question. Where does Japan go?
Yeah, that's the thing. They're going to need a new plan, or, well, another map, really, because obviously they've managed to win one of their picks thus far. It was their last one in that hard rock. Did they stay on the hard rock, perhaps? I'm really not sure. Thing is, with that hard rock 2, it's very much a precision map with a lot of focus on the aim elements of it, which makes it very tricky to consistently pull up good scores on. I'm looking at the Japanese roster, and I'm not sure whether I see the consistency needed, especially on their qualifier results, to necessarily pull that up. So they're gonna try out with No Mod 1.
Yeah, this could be a solid pick overall. I mean, at the end of the day, No Mod 1's usually a pretty staple pick whenever you're feeling confident. I mean, if you've got confident aim players, it's never a bad shout. I feel like this is, you know, it had to be something like this, or maybe the Hard Rock 2, as you mentioned before.
Yeah, I think I'm still leaning towards Singapore potentially putting up a better score on this. I mean, they've still got Demonical, who is playing really well. Megumik has also got the very high potential to pull in some big scores on this. I mean, this is a big drop from what we saw in qualifiers. That's probably the biggest difference. This is a lot more of a conventional No Mod 1 than we saw in qualifiers. Qualifiers was very unconventional and a bit inconsistent for players to pull home FCs on because of the many different elements that were in that actual map. So perhaps the qualifier scores aren't the best thing to go off for a map like this, and yeah, could come down to individual breaks here.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how players do fare on this one, though. I mean, it's, for the most part, this is pretty comfortable aim. There are some uncomfortable sections. I mean, obviously, as you get later into the map as well, you've got like a few of those like pause, snappy sections and whatnot, but yeah, this is pretty much just going to be a test of, you know, how well you perform on comfortable into uncomfortable jumps. I think at this point, a lot of these players are pretty much used to this type of map. Aim is a pretty important skill set in this game overall, and you need it for basically everything. So the main thing here is just going to be like random misses potentially, which can be something that is not a bad idea when it comes to picking, like going for that hold on strong kind of thing. Just hope the other player misses,
Yeah, I think it's with this map. It's going to be, how the consistency. GS blank though with the first break. That surprises me. I was not expecting to see a break quite this soon. I was expecting the consistency to really be tested in the last quarter of this map to really decide it, but that opens things up for Japan. If they can take advantage, they could lay down the groundwork for a potential late miss and still hold the point. As we get halfway through this map, there really isn't much to talk about, apart from the accuracies really, which are much higher on Singapore. Victopia in particular struggling, but Tebby and Demonical are going to be finding misses here.
Oh yeah, that part of the sliders right there just caught a few of them off guard. GS Blank also finding yet another miss as well, and that's not looking good for Singapore right now. They've dropped 3 combos, and it's 4 full combos for Japan at the moment. And we're pretty much just past the halfway point, so Japan is pretty much feeling comfy right now. They're feeling good. This is looking like a very, very solid pick from them after all. Megamick also finding a break as well, so I think it's pretty much all said and done at this point. You're at the halfway point on a Nomad 1 when the Japanese side has all 4 combos being above 1,000. I don't really believe there's going to be any chance for Singapore to really pull this one back, but maybe miracles could happen.
No, this one is going to really hurt. Yeah, I mean, Japan are just looking for the 4-way FC at this point.
Come on, you got to give them something to believe.
I mean, I would if there was something to bite on, but they had such bad, unfortunate breaks at the same time, and another break from Tebby and Megumik. I mean, what can you say? Just incredible stuff from Japan right when they needed it. They respond with a fantastic, hopefully a 4-way. I'm praying for it on this, but never mind. No, I don't know why I bother. Victopia will find a break alongside Concon. Yeah, why? Just
classic commentator goes, But I mean, after all, this is a very, very solid performance from Japan as a whole. They managed to get to the 1.4k combo mark with all players, and still got Tichi and LaPlus holding on as well. Demonical managed to make a bit of a recovery going on there, but you're just seeing chain misses happening all over the place from Singapore.
Yeah, I think it was just too comfy for Singapore. They actually probably threw them off. There's no real demanding elements to this map. It's just consistency on the jumps.
That is actually, I was just going to say, sorry, that is actually something that we've been seeing throughout this entire match. Like, we've been seeing that, they've been playing all sorts of different types of maps, just going from one polar opposite to another, pretty much, like going from hidden to hard rock. You had like the early alt map as well. It's just been all sorts of different types of aim and styles, which is good in a pool, but they're just going straight for the polar opposites pretty much.
Yeah, they really are, and now it's time for Singapore to see if see what they've got left in the tank, really. As we are into the sort of later half of the pool, the picks, they starting to become a bit more of sort of toss-up maps that you can't guarantee, but so far Singapore have made good decisions on their map picks that I've seen them through, but trying to sort of I'm probably just overthinking this in terms of what they're going to pick next, but
I have a feeling that maybe they dive into DT1, maybe? It might not be a bad shout to sort of... I mean, obviously they've been mixing it up this entire match so far, so maybe going for something like either DT1 or Free Mod 2. Maybe try out a little bit of the speed side of things.
Potentially. Although I do fancy them, I think, a bit on No Mod 4, potentially. A bit of a switch up. I mean, you're right, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, they're going for the DT one, and based on the qualifying results, I'm not quite sure if the qualifying map was similar to this one or not, but the Singapore side had a pretty solid performance on that one overall, so you know, they're confident in their DT. I'd say both of these rosters are very confident in their DT. So as you mentioned, it is a very, very toss-up pick. You know, it could be very coin flippy when it comes to a lot of the next maps that are bound to be picked here in this match. But Singapore are here to say, yep, we want to pick this, we want to try it out, and we're feeling good. And they're going to bounce back from that No Mod 1 and try it out with the DT one. Do it a little bit faster this time around.
Yeah, I definitely think it's something that they can definitely win for sure. But I mean, the potential as well has to be said for Japan. If they are able to break back here, it opens up so many potential picks in terms of DT and the speed orientated maps of this pool. I mean, I guess it is a bit more aim focused, so you know, it doesn't necessarily open up the rest of DT. But I mean, it does have the potential to put Singapore on the back foot here. If they can beat them on this, but again, both sides, I have to say, will have very solid DT lineups. You know, you're expecting sort of like multiple FCs of players on both sides, but it's going to come down to, you know, individual breaks and just who's not quite performing today. And that's why I'm probably going to pick Singapore to win this. I think Japan are just showing a little bit more weakness at the moment. But I'd love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong.
Yeah, I would say there's definitely potential on both sides, absolutely. And on a map like this, you know, it's pretty straightforward. It's not too tricky. We did see Japan perform really well on the previous map, which was obviously a slower version of what this is essentially. You know, this is just a pretty comfortable aim. You've got a couple of triples and a few quints as well in my 270 BPM first map, or aim map rather, but you know, yeah, overall the players should be capable of getting through this one pretty comfortably. This is on the higher end when it comes to BPM, so aim is going to be a lot faster. And you also do need to be aware of those triples and quints that do pop up. I think the quint section is towards the end as well, so that could be something that might be a big determining factor if you're ready for it or not.
Yeah, so it's after a little bit of delay there, we're finally ready to get into this DT1. Bit of an unknown, really, on how this one's going to go. Again, both teams got very solid lineups for this. Yama Darkness, though, I think making first appearance in this match.
Yeah, this is one thing that we'd definitely expect them to be in on for sure. Known for their DT expertise. Early breaks coming in from Megamic and Dawnwing. This one, it's still early days, but I mean, this is a short map after all, you know, 2 minutes is... You don't really want to be seeing breaks around the 200 combo point.
Yeah, it's a good sign early on for Japan, but again, expecting very high combos, scores, everything across the board, but L4 plus 1. I butchered their name, didn't I? It's not L4 plus 1, is it? It's pronounced Laplace, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe it's been mentioned to us that it's been pronounced like Laplace, but either way. You know, we just read what we see on the screen, right? No, we're just
exactly.
That break is pretty late into this map, which could actually be enough to swing this back in Singapore's favor, and we are seeing that go back in their favor right now. Yama Darkness actually finding a break as well. So Dawnwing actually responding there, but they're still holding on to their 3-4 combos against just Teachy at the moment. Vento did find a break as well, so at the moment Singapore still holding on to 2 full combos with Megimic having that one early miss at the beginning. But this is them pretty much just going to be running away as we get up to the 3/4 section. All players pretty much getting through that burst section relatively fine. Maybe a few act drops here and there.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's going to be hard for Singapore to drop this one at the end. With how short this map is. Eagle will find the drop though, but Vento's going to be able to trade it up. It's not even an even trade at that point, but there's no room for Japan to pull it back, so unfortunately Singapore will be holding on to this point and putting themselves in a very strong position here.
Teachy doing everything that they could for the Japanese side, but the Monaco and Megimic are just going to be running away with that one. Looking pretty confident on their pick, but I mean at the end of the day that was still a very solid performance from Japan as well. This is something that we do expect, you know, when it comes to these types of maps. Like, we expect these relatively close results. And, you know, a few of those misses towards the end were not so great for Japan. And that is pretty much the difference maker. Things looked pretty grim for Singapore at the beginning. You know, they had a couple of misses. It might have looked like they weren't feeling too confident, but, you know, that could just be adjustment things.
Yeah, and again, adjustment's very important because, like you said, when you expect these close results and big scores from players, early breaks can actually make the difference. But of course that didn't happen this time, but it definitely does happen. I could say that for a fact. So early breaks can make all the difference. But yeah, Japan, they've got to pick clever here. Can't afford really any mistake. I'm still looking at that hard rock or potentially that no mod for them, but they're going to go to free mod, I think.
Yeah, free mod can definitely be a pretty good shout here. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a lot of these maps are going to be trial and error, and it's not a bad idea to explore free mod, but this one is a very, very wild one. I feel like the modded players are just always going to have such a tough time on a map like this. I would be very surprised if we see some overmodding coming in from either of these sides.
Yeah, it was a trend I think we saw in the I think it was France, New Zealand that this was played as well, and there was no overmodding, bare minimum mods from both teams. So I would be very surprised to see any form of overmodding, which is weird because it's a map that I think definitely could be overmodded, but it has to be by the right team, I think, and I'm not sure that either of these teams want to take that risk this late in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this map is pretty brutal in terms of some of the things that it has to offer. You've got just like a lot of flow aim, some awkward, like, wiggly, you know, streams and bursts and whatnot. This type of thing, I don't know. If you're not confident in this style of map, you're definitely not going to want to opt for a mod on this one. But we do actually see a few people where we see the Singapore side opting for 2 hidden here. The Monaco going for hidden hard rock, Teachy going for hidden hard rock, and Dectopia opting for hidden. So no overmod from Japan, besides the extra hidden from Teachy, and 1 extra hidden for the side of Singapore.
Yeah, interesting. I think Singapore, they do have the wiggle room that they can take the chance with the overmod. Again, it does put pressure on the Japanese side because of the multiplier. They can't win on just all FCs alone, but Eagle will find the first break though. So it should eventually flip their way, but not straight away.
So far we've had an early break from Eagle, and the Monaco also following up with one on the 300 combo point. Eagle finds yet another break as well. Having a little bit of trouble on that hidden for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it in the France New Zealand match. You know, players have the potential to really pop off on the hidden, or they can just have an absolutely awful time trying to build combo on a map like this. And again, not very long. Really is starting to get to these shorter maps where every break counts. And Japan holding a good lead here with a double break from Yellow, Eagle, and Demonical's going to join them to leave Megamic out on their own. Teachy did have a break though, but I mean, it's still 3 FCs for Japan.
Yeah, some of these stream sections on this map can be pretty brutal and hidden, and we're seeing that be the case right now for Singapore. This is definitely looking like a really solid pick from Japan. I mean, they are just running away with this lead right now. Pretty much 3-4 combos. I think Invoker had a very, very early miss as a adjustment thing, maybe. But seeing a couple of breaks and just random spots happen from the Singapore side, not too great right now. You've got Megamic still doing work, but Dectopia, Concon, Finicon, and Invoker are just holding way too much in order for any form of comeback. And that is a strong performance from Japan. That is a nice pick for them to have as a backup there, because that is a very solid score. 3.4 million across the board.
It's a very good performance, especially considering they didn't actually have, I don't think, any technical FCs. Although, you know, those breaks came very late on or very early on, as in the case with, you know, Invoker having the early break in Dectopia and Concon breaking right at the end. But I mean, you know, it's one of those things that I think, regardless of how you look at it, that is a ridiculous overall team score, very high from every player on the Japanese side, and it was good to play it safe. They made the right call, not trying to match Singapore.
Yeah, definitely a great pick from them. Now the question is, where do we see Singapore go? Because, I mean, it is very possible that you might be right in regards to that No-Mod 4 pick. I think that's something that they are definitely looking at and considering. It's hard to say. I think the AR8 Hidden is out of the question, maybe. I feel like that one is probably a little bit too big of a risk.
Yeah,
but
considering how Japan played, I wouldn't trust myself on that.
And here we go, we're seeing them go for that No-Mod 4, as you mentioned before. I think this is a very, very solid backup pick for them.
Yeah, it really kind of pushes the difficulty way up. I believe it's one of the harder maps in this pool. It definitely has, you know, a lot of miss potential throughout the map. It hits you hard, it hits you fast. With a lot of the second half in particular, I've noticed with a lot of these fast sliders to really push up that miss potential. So this will be tricky, and I'll definitely look to the star players to really try and carry players, or well, carry the team through to victory, regardless of which team you look at.
Yeah, with that, we're probably expecting yet another close result between these two teams. With that said, you know, we've just been going so back and forth between all types of picks here. I think the closest contrast we've had is like the No-Mod 1 to DT1, except it being just, you know, a bit faster aim. But this one here, this is quite tricky. You know, you've got a lot of accelerator things going on. You've still got that flow aim aspect as we saw in the last map, but this is definitely one of those maps which is on the harder side in terms of just the speed aim with the sliders. And you've also got the good old fun sliders later on throughout the map as well, which you might see a few people have a bit of a trip up on those, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. And this could be it. Singapore with the pick in hand to close it out here. If not, we go to the promised land, to no man's land, neutral territory. But again, Singapore hoping to not make that the case. But again, Japan will want that case. So let's see who has the better run as this map really kicks in fast. Eagle and Megamit will find the early breaks. Not detrimental, but Tebi also finding a break that is going to give Japan a massive head start as they adjust really well to this map.
Yeah, Japan looking very strong. We're seeing a couple breaks from Singapore so far. I believe that was an error on Unix miss. But yeah, a few early breaks from Tebi, Eagle as well. So far, Japan holding on strong. And one thing I wanted to mention as well that's important about this is that, you know, if you get to this 500 combo point, you actually have a little bit of free combo to work with as well. So that's really, really important here. Aotaline did find a break, but so far, most people getting up to the free combo point. Japan holding on to 3 full combos as well. This is huge for them. This is about 150 free combo potentially.
It's just Megabit and Eagle who had the nice recovery. Demonical did have that break, so about halfway through. So definitely looking for a massive change up in this last quarter of this map. Again, we've got some of those speedy sliders that are going to come in and potentially find any misses, but I guess everyone is going to be hyper focused on this. It's still winnable, I think, for Singapore at this stage, but that break with the Monocle is going to hurt really bad.
Yeah, that is a very brutal break, but we do have the fun sliders coming up right now. Are we going to see some of the players miss on this?
It's going to have to be a big reset from Japan for Singapore to take this. There goes Vento, that's 1. But they probably need all of them to go at this stage, and Demonical's going to be finding the reset instead. Ataline drops, that's 2.
Tebi also responding as well. Megamic finding that break. This is pretty much going all in Japan's favor. Eagle is the final combo to drop for Singapore. Pretty much all combos have dropped on the fun sliders. Pretty much to no surprise maybe, but that is Japan taking that one away, and we are going to be seeing a tiebreaker between these two teams. Are you surprised, Dimash? Because honestly, I'm not.
No. I mean, on paper, no. You don't... I'm surprised that the breakpoint happened so late. But I mean, it is the time to happen. But Japan, with the incredible comeback... no, I'm not really surprised that this has gone to tiebreaker. On paper, they were the closest team. And... yeah, I think we should just get into the explanation of the tiebreaker. If you want to take it away.
When it comes to this map, it pretty much does everything that a tiebreaker needs to do. You know, it's consistent. It offers a wide variety of things, and you know, you've got that aim element. You've got a couple of bursts here and there. This overall is just a very, very solid and balanced pick, and I think it's really hard to say which way this one could go. Like, I wouldn't say that this plays very much like No Model 1, but there obviously is aim element to it. It is one of the highest star ratings, but also on 200 BPM, so that is something. I'm honestly not sure. Like, this is just one of those things. We've seen how close it's been throughout this entire match. You know, things have been very back and forth. There's been a couple of close maps. There's been a few that have gone one way, but a lot of those maps are more the more niche skill sets that you sort of see it go one way. It's very hard to say. What are your thoughts, Dimash?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at this map. It's very high BPM, which I think is going to favour, you know, if there's any sort of lengthy streams, but I think there are a couple from my recollection. Might trip up the Japanese players slightly more. I think the Singapore team will be a bit more adjusted to it. But again, it's the consistency that is really going to be tested on this one, and I think Japan has been shown to be slightly more consistent on these sort of aim focus maps, or you know, the aim elements, I would say. And again, with that tech, I think mechanically Japan might have the edge on this one. But it really comes down to what players get tripped up on. Is it the high BPM, or is it the mechanical skill that trips players up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're seeing a couple of an early miss coming in from Kinecon, just maybe adjusting to that early section there. But the one thing that is worth mentioning is that obviously Japan was down 4-2. They are kind of riding high at the moment. Are they going to be able to carry that into this one? You know, you've had Singapore lose the last 2 points, and you know, they've been beaten down a little bit, but is that going to be enough to bring them back into that? You know, like, are they on a map like this as well? You know, it's just it's so hard to say. Like, Japan is riding a high, but is it too much of a high? Is it going to be something that backfires? This map isn't quite your most conventional, you know, like it's not exactly AIM. You're seeing a lot of like weird, awkward burst patterns, some rhythmic sections and whatnot. So there's a lot of things that can definitely trip up either side here, for sure.
A lot of factors coming into play. But again, we see. So we saw LaPlus1 have the break there, and then GS Blank broke straight after. So with the recovery from Concon, Invoker and Seal will have a bit of a trade up. GS Blank will find another reset. That is going to favor Japan, actually, though. Ever so slightly, they will begin to pull score back their way, as accuracies here are very similar between the two teams.
Although we did see a miss from Invoker as well, though, so it looks like this will actually go back in favor of Singapore. Oh wait, I didn't see the seal miss, my mistake.
No worries, no worries. It keeps things exciting, it's keeping it close, as Japan will continue to pull back that score. Seal with another break. LaPlus will find a reset, though. That is going to slow down the Japanese side. And actually, looking at this, this is... Oh my goodness,
this is so unbelievably close. Oh, but Tebi dropping as well, though. Techi holding on. Oh my goodness, all combos have been reset for Singapore. I was going to say this is definitely looking very close in terms of the misses that they're trading right now with the Monaco and Kinikon dropping, but Techi as well, also finding a break. This is pretty much all players reset. Invoker and LaPlus still holding on. So things are going to be going in Japan's favor, but we're seeing resets happen all over the board at the moment. This is intense, man. When it comes to tiebreakers, you know, you've got such a long map, and not only that, but this is just such an intense map in terms of what it offers. You know, these parts are tripping these players up just enough. And this is a slightly harder map from what we've seen so far in the pool as well. You know, being on the higher side of the star rating, always designed to break the tie.
It really just sets the standard of who should go through and who should drop down. But the Invoker is holding the line. They have a good buffer, Japan, now. That isn't going to be easy to chase from the Singapore side. They need to hold on to all these combos. They can't see another break here. The advantage is if the Invoker was to drop, Singapore would start to pull combo back, and there's a triple reset for Japan as Tebi and Seal also find resets, but it's Demonical and GS Blank who have got combo. Concon Kinocon's going to try and hold on to it, but it's not going to be enough. You can see the scorebar starting to pull over now. All Singapore need to do is just hold on here. They can do this. They can pull this score back. They just need a little bit more to pull it over. 30,000 points. And it's getting smaller, 20,000 points. Very little map.
This is so unbelievably tense at the moment. I mean, this is the most important part for players to be holding on to combo right now. It's still really, really close. It's only just slightly going back in their favor, and this is even despite them holding on to these two really high combos. You've got Concon, Kinikon, Invoker, and LaPlus still bringing up and building something, but they're only just holding on that little bit. They need Demonical or GS Blank to drop in order for them to hold on to this one, but it is going back in Singapore's favor at the moment. Concon, Kinikon with the drop, GS Blank with the drop as well.
Oh,
this is huge.
This is massive. You've got 3 supporting combos versus a massive combo. Seal will find a drop, but I think they do. They still hold on to it. Singapore with that Demonical big combo. It's not even an FC, but it's enough. That is ridiculous. Wow. What a match.
That was unbelievably back and forth. I mean, those players throughout that tiebreaker were just trading misses pretty much all at the exact same time. You had TG being the last one to hold on for just that little bit longer, but then also trading the miss. I mean, that was ridiculous. We saw how close that was. And just having it go back and forth between them, right at the very end, you had like a couple of players holding on. You had Demonical holding on against, LaPlus and Invoker at the very end there as well. What a match. Unbelievable. Singapore taking that one away, though. Very solid fight from both of these teams. What a match. You know, for round of 32, what a match, Dimash.
Yeah, that really shows the standard of what it means to have two seeds right next to each other in the bracket stage. Anything can happen, and that gets about as close as it can get. Both teams did extraordinarily well, and Japan, unfortunately, right at the end, they just couldn't ride that momentum high that they'd brought the match back from. So they will drop down to the losers bracket as Singapore continue on. But again, they will be up against a very tough opponent next week, so definitely something to look forward to. But as of